Hello and welcome. Tonight, we're talking about something that affects almost every single one of us: overthinking. You know, that kind that's the mental spiral that starts as a thought and then ends in emotional exhaustion. So, so many of us think we are being careful or prepared, but what we are really doing is feeding anxious loops that rob us from our peace, our time, and our ability to feel present. But what if I told you that overthinking isn't necessarily the problem, but believing the distorted thoughts without questioning them is a problem? And if you are new here, welcome to our compassionate weekly accountability meeting. My name is Karina Aybar Jacobs, and I am a licensed psychotherapist and coach. And this is a community where we're here to learn to heal from dysfunctional family dynamics, especially the invisible wounds of parentification, perfectionism, generational trauma, and feeling like we always have to hold it all together. So let me know where you are joining from. I would love to hear from you. Welcome back. And to begin, let's talk about cognitive distortions. These are like mental filters on unhelpful automatic patterns of thinking that we resort to and distort the way we see ourselves, others, and the world when we're under stress. Usually these patterns, they are subtle and they can feel familiar and true, especially if we grew up in households where emotional safety wasn't a guarantee. So let's see. Oh, hello, hello. I see Beatrice. Hello from LA. Yes. Well, hello from New York City, Beatrice. Welcome back. It's wonderful to have you here. And yes, let me know where you are joining from. I will be on the lookout. Say hello. If you're a Self Worth Hub member, don't forget to say hello and engage as usual for a chance to win our monthly self-care gift card. So don't forget to say hello. If you're a Self Worth Hub member, if you're new here or regardless, say hello. I would love to see you. Well, hello, hello. I see Tilda from New York City. Oh, I love this community. Thank you for being here. It's wonderful to have you. And if you have any questions at any point, please do not hesitate to post them in the comments. I will be on the lookout. As you can see, let me know if you can see the comments on screen. I'm testing this new feature where you can show the comments on stage. So let me know right now before we move on if you can see that. Can you see your comments automatically? That would be very helpful if you let me know. Okay? All right. So, back to yes, you can. Okay, wonderful. Thank you for letting me know. Perfect. Okay, this saves me a little bit of time, right? Because we can see it there, but that's even better if you can automatically see the comments. Thank you. So, back to cognitive distortions. I wonder if you were familiar with this. If you're a Self-Worth Hub member, you're very likely familiar with this concept, but they're the irrational thoughts that we resort to under stress and when we are triggered. We develop these distortions because at one point they became our survival mechanism. But now, as adults, they often keep us stuck in anxiety. They fuel our inner critic and they affect our decision making. It makes us feel exhausted and they block us from building the lives we truly want. So I want to name some of the usual suspects in cognitive distortions. Number one, catastrophizing. And I can relate to that one. Expecting the worst case scenario to happen. Oh boy, that's a common one. Then mind reading, assuming that you know what others are thinking about you. Very common. Personalization, personalizing, right? Taking responsibility for things that aren't yours to carry. And if you're parentified, this is a very common one for you. Black and white thinking, seeing things as all good or all bad and not in between, right? Should statements, beating yourself up with rigid rules. That's also a very common one that I witness many of my clients have. And I want to offer you an example. Let's explore the story of someone I'll name Myra, right? A daughter and someone who has spent most of her life putting other people's needs first. So at her new job, she's been invited to give a presentation during a team meeting. But the moment that Myra starts preparing, the overthinking kicks in. What if I mess up? What if I sound stupid? What if they think I don't belong here? You see? So I want to break that down for you. You see, she is mind reading. They will think I'm not smart enough. See, she's assuming that she's mind reading. She's also catastrophizing. One mistake and that will ruin everything. You see, discounting everything else that you have accomplished. She's also making should statements like, I should be perfect to be respected. But there's no room for error or growth there. And these are not facts, they are distorted thoughts shaped by old wounds. And yet, because they feel so true, they start running the show. Comment I if you can relate to that. And I also want to point out, why does this matter? Because cognitive distortions feel protective, but they actually reinforce our fear, shame, and paralysis. They make us second guess our decisions. Thank you for sharing. I see commenting I. They keep us up at night, playing out conversations, and they convince us that we cannot handle discomfort. So we remain comfortable in the discomfort. And the thing is that you cannot outthink overthinking with more overthinking, right? But you can learn to challenge the distortions that fuel it. So let's talk about some practical everyday ways to calm these distortions, this mental storm, right? Number one, I want you to catch the thought and label the pattern, because step one is awareness. When you notice you are spiraling, pause and ask yourself, what story am I telling myself right now? And what kind of distortion is this? And you can even keep a cheat sheet nearby, because if you know what your distortions are, it's important to write it down. Like, is this all or nothing thinking? Am I predicting the future? You see? Am I assuming I know what they are thinking? What has been my track record? You see, naming the distortions is like flipping on a light in a dark room. And I want to pause to ask you in the chat, in the comments, let me know, what's your usual suspect? What is your cognitive distortion? Did you know by now? Okay. So I would compassionately encourage you to name that, because overthinking fuels anxiety, analysis, paralysis by analysis. Because you see, we have a thought, and thoughts create an emotion. Therefore, they feel so real. And that emotion activates a behavior. And that behavior over time creates a belief about ourselves because we're not stopping to question it. I see. Thank you so much for sharing, Beatrice. Beatrice says, assuming I know what people are thinking. Yes, yes. I mean, it is so common to assume that we often discount everything else that they have said. Like, for instance, if they give you positive feedback and then that one time that they give you constructive criticism or any feedback, then you start to question, like, oh, I messed up, completely discounting everything else, right? Anything positive. So, another way that I want you to tackle this is a reality check with curiosity. Once you have named the distortion, get curious. Ask yourself, is there another way to look at this? What would I say to a friend who had this thought? And trust me, I ask this every time to all of my clients and members because they're more compassionate with others than themselves, right? So ask yourself, is this thought helpful or harmful? And going back to our so-called story, Myra, right? This case, have I messed up presentations before? Right? No, I usually do okay. So that's an example. Like, look at your track record. Has anyone told me I don't belong here? Right? And then challenge it because actually people have complimented my insights. So keep track not only of the negative feedback, but your accomplishments. And I see Satilda comments, thinking the worst case scenario. Yes, it is so common. And as I mentioned, we completely discount our track record, and that is why it's so important. And these are techniques from cognitive behavioral therapy, which is so effective in challenging thoughts and anxiety and irrational thoughts. Now, talk to talk back to your shoots, okay? And what do I mean by this, right? Whenever you hear that inner critic say, hmm, you should be more confident. You shouldn't feel nervous. Or you should already have this figured out, right? I want you to respond with, according to who? Says who? You see? Because very likely that's the inner critic that is feeding the cognitive distortions, right? Replace the should with I would like to, or I'm learning to figure this out. I'm learning to do presentations, right? Or I'm learning to feel more confident in public. I like to improve how I handle presentations, right? Going back to our make believe scenario with Myra, right? Because this turns shame into growth and it interrupts the loop with action. Overthinking thrives in stillness. It's like a hamster wheel powered by inaction. So you get stuck there. So when your thoughts won't shut up, right? If they don't shut up, do something small and grounding. Drink a glass of water. Oh, by the way, I left mine. Usually I bring one. Step outside for a breath of fresh air. Write the thought down and give it a title. Play a song and stretch for 16 seconds. 60 seconds. By the way, I have a pain in the neck. FYI. Bottom line is that small actions interrupt the loop and signal to your nervous system that you are safe. So speak to yourself like a trusted mentor, a dear friend. When the spiral hits, don't try to argue with every thought. And instead, ask, what would the wiser, calmer version of me say to me right now? And maybe they say, Of course, you're nervous, right? This matters to you. This is very important to you, but you have done hard things before. So let's just take the next step. And that is your loving inner parent speaking, the one you are learning to become. Okay? So don't forget that. And I want to be on the lookout. Let me know if you have any questions or you resonate with this. I'll be on the lookout in the comments. Okay? So now let's talk about another piece of overthinking that often doesn't get enough attention, which is decision making. If you grew up in a family where your choices were criticized, ignored, or punished, or where you had to take care of others before yourself, then ma- decision making can feel paralyzing, not because you're indecisive, but because somewhere deep down, you were never given space to develop trust in your own voice. So you question yourself a lot, right? I have to pause for a moment and share that often many of my clients, even though they may be hyper independent, and my members as well, they struggle with decision making when it comes to themselves. Sometimes anything that benefits them, unless it's helping someone else, they're very quick to think and make a decision. But when it comes to them, they question themselves. So comment I if that resonates with you. I know that I can resonate with that. At least I used to in the past, because you are very other centered, right? You're not used to putting yourself first. So it makes sense that you question whether you are making the right decision, whether you're going to hurt someone, whether people are going to think that you are selfish, etc. So, and you're not used to being on the spotlight. So, that definitely is something very common. And I see Beatrice commenting, I thank you for sharing. Um, it is so easy to make the decisions for others, give them great advice, but oh boy, to apply it to ourselves, another story, right? So, what happens? You gather endless information, you second guess your gut, and you crowdsource your decisions until you are more confused than when you started. So, I want to encourage you to shift that today by naming powerful mindset shifts that can help you make clearer, calmer decisions, especially when overthinking triggers or tries to hijack your peace. Okay, are you ready? And if you haven't, if you're new here, but I know a lot of you who are here and I see Self Worth Hub members, make sure you have pen and paper. Make sure that you watch the replay. If you didn't get to write these down, I want you to write down these tips. Okay. Number one, I want you to let go of perfect. Okay. You will never have every detail or guarantee before making a choice. I mean, that's just life. So give yourself a break. Trying to make the perfect decision often becomes a way to delay action and avoid risk. So instead, I want you to aim for good enough. Set a timer, make a choice, and let it be okay. That is not 100% certain. That's okay. That's just how it is, right? Number two, listen to you first. You heard me right. Advice can be helpful, but when you prioritize everyone else's opinion over your own, you lose trust in your inner compass. So trust your instinct. You are the expert in your life, you are the architect of your life and of your future. I want you to use conversations with others not to outsource your choices, but to clarify what feels right for you. So you can ask yourself, what would I choose if I truly believed I was allowed to choose for me? And very likely you have the answer already. You're just looking for validation, right? But imagine if you don't stand up for something, you can fall for anything. And then you will resent the people who gave you the advice, or you will resent yourself for not listening to your gut, looking back and just thinking, wow, I've created this life that is based on other people's choices, decisions, advice versus my own. I don't want you to feel that way. That's a horrible feeling. Okay. So trust your gut. Number three, I want you to focus on what's likely, not what is possible. And what I mean by that is that overthinkers often they get stuck imagining every terrible thing that could go wrong. So I want you to pause and ask, what's most likely to happen? And let that be your focus and not the million imaginary disasters that your nervous system wants to prevent. That's just exhausting, right? Number four, I want you to speed up the small stuff. Some decisions, they don't really matter long term. So, for instance, like which brand of toothpaste to buy or what route to take home, right? If it won't matter in a week, then make it quick. Think about it. That's a way to practice. Or, like, oh, what color shoes I'm going to wear, whatever it is, right? That sounds very trivial. At the end of the day, deciding fast on the small things helps you build confidence for the big things because you are training that muscle, that confidence muscle to make decisions based on your own values, based on your own research, based on how you feel and what you want, regardless of anyone else's opinion. Does that make sense? Let me know in the comments. Okay. Number five, let your values guide you when logic and pros and cons lists do not help. Let your core values be the compass. Ask yourself, which choice reflects what I care about the most? Because values like growth, integrity, peace, connection, family, etc., you get the point. These help to get us out of our heads and into alignment. Because when we make decisions in alignment with our values, there are no regrets. For instance, I know I value family. I know I value spirituality. And your values may shift. For me, just to give you an example, to me, it's in this order like spirituality, family, and well, now health after surviving cancer, right? I put health more at the top as a value, like, okay, I need to eat better, be mindful of that. It used to be more at the bottom before. So, health, career, friends, right? But I know that spirituality and family are at the top. So, when I make a decision about my life, my schedule, it has to be in alignment with those values. Otherwise, I will feel guilty. I know that I'll look back and I will feel bad, right? Okay. Hello, hello, Mado. Hi. Welcome. And let me know if this resonates, right? But that helps us get out of our heads and into alignment with who we are and our values. Hi, Mado. How are you? Let me know if I'm pronouncing it well. And number six, remember that not choosing is still a choice. So delaying a decision might feel safer, but it's still a decision no matter what. And often it means letting life or other people choose for you, right? You basically, life is happening for you instead of you being the protagonist. So I want you to ask yourself, what might I be giving up by avoiding this choice, right? What am I giving up by avoiding this choice? And then gently remind yourself that your future deserves clarity. Okay? Let me know if you have any questions. Okay, let's see. Mado says, I'm a new subscriber and I think your channel is beautiful. Oh, thank you. That makes my day, and welcome. It is wonderful to have you. So I hope that I can continue to see you, and let me know if you have any questions or you are resonating. Okay. Thank you. Number 7, expect discomfort, because not every decision is going to feel good. That's just the reality. And that's okay. That's life. Sometimes clarity brings grief. It can bring action, can bring anxiety. So instead of waiting to feel perfectly confident, ask yourself, what feelings am I trying to avoid? And then focus on how you will support yourself through those feelings and not avoid them altogether, because you will be paralyzed for life. Let me tell you. And take it from me, okay? Not to harp on the fact that I'm a cancer survivor, right? I've been in remission for 3 years, but ever since that, I mean, I used to take calculated risks, but now I'm like, oh, I'm living my life, okay? Because I get to live this life, and I'm going to do, as long as it's in alignment with my values and I am helping others, not harming anyone. I said, and I would humbly encourage you, take it from me, live your life, okay? Travel, make decisions. Don't allow life to happen to you, but you be the protagonist, be the architect of your present and future. I cannot stress that enough. And I see Mado says, the most important thing in your dialogue is to get rid of psychological and nervous pressure. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because let's face it, I bet you that if another friend came to you, explain to you the situations, oh my gosh, imagine what would they think about me if I do this, you would be very patient with them, very compassionate with them, and I am sure you would often offer different perspective and hold space. So why is it that you cannot do that for yourself? Right? Allow yourself to be perfectly imperfect, because that is the beauty of it. Otherwise, there will be no growth in life. There's no growth in comfort. That's just a fact. Number 8, right? I believe so. Yes. Looking at my notes. Yes. I want you to accept that every choice has trade offs, and every yes involves a no. And sometimes overthinking is grief in disguise, grief over the path we didn't take, maybe. And it's okay to mourn what you gave up and still feel proud of what you chose. Two things can be true, basically. Number 9, don't let doubt rewrite your choices. Doubt is normal, but that doesn't mean that your decision was wrong. Again, when second guessing creeps in, please ask yourself, is there anything new that I've learned from this experience? Or am I just feeling anxious? If it's just fear talking, you don't need to change direction, right? You need to self soothe and stay the course. And I want to give you a gentle reminder. Overthinking is often an emotional wound dressed up in logic. What do I mean by that? It's often a wound that says, I cannot afford to get this wrong, or I don't know if I'm allowed to choose for myself, or if I make a mistake, I will disappoint everyone, or I will be abandoned, people will not like me. You get the point. But your healing is not about being perfect, because no one is. It's about being free, free to decide, to grow, to learn through action and not paralysis. Again, I want to pause to see if you have any questions in the comments or anything that is resonating, because I want to give you some journal prompts before we go to help you go deeper and to reflect on this week. So And I will pin them in the comments, the prompts. But before I do that, I want to pause and ask if any of you has a question or is resonating with this. Let me know so far what is resonating with you. Let me see. So the person becomes like a dead person walking on the earth. Yes. Yes. I mean, that is a way of looking at it, because you are just at the mercy of others. You are paralyzed and not really choosing aligned action or making decisions that really spark your joy. Think about it. It's so monotonous. It's so boring to live life that way. Let's see. I also see that was Mado. Now this is Beatrice says, can you talk a little more about mourning a sacrifice? I believe that's what you said. Yes, for instance, like just mourning the fact that perhaps you made a decision that either you may be regretting or maybe wasn't the best course of action when you think back at how things went. And that's okay to mourn the potential loss or sacrifice of time, of money, of relationships, and maybe it was a mistake. It's okay to mourn, grieve, whatever it is that you are regretting or you didn't like how it went, and hold space to question, to ask yourself, okay, what did I learn from it? What did I learn from that experience? Because I bet you there was some growth. Even by default of making the so-called mistake that you are labeling that as such, I'm sure there was a learning curve. Perhaps it made you stronger. Perhaps it taught you that you are capable of, rerouting and redirecting yourself, and it made you more resilient. So that is another way of looking at it. And also hold space for, just be compassionate with yourself, like, i wish I didn't make that decision because I'm feeling this way. And then redirect, but not get stuck in that cycle, because it is so easy to get paralyzed and then not make decisions moving forward because you're so afraid of making another mistake. But more often than not, you have learned from that experience. Let me see. Madam says, Madam, I work as an assistant director on Education today, and when my mind is under the control of psychological pressure, I cannot be creative in my work. That makes complete sense, and thank you for sharing, Mado. Um, I mean, think about it. If you are under so much pressure, that will hinder your creativity. That is why it is so important to identify the warning signs, right? Like, what are the triggers? What is triggering me? Is it that people are bombarding you with a lot of emails, questions, right? Um, and if that is the case, are you able to take a break at some point? Are you able to walk outside, you know, take a deep breath and compartmentalize what the priorities are before you continue? And perhaps that may not be the day to be creative, but after you have grounded yourself, maybe revisit so that you can hold space for your creativity. But let's face it, that sounds that it's not your fault. If you're having a lot of pressure, how can you be creative all the time? Let's say, well, when I'm free from pressure, I feel creative and innovative in my work. Yes, it makes sense. I mean, please be compassionate with yourself, you know? Mado, enta masriya. I'm learning a little bit of Arabic, so that's why I asked you, since you said in Egyptian television. Well, now to, and I hope that that answer your question. I want to leave you with some prompts this week that I will pin in the comment section after, right? Oh, well, I'm not there yet, Bado. I can read a few words in Arabic, but I cannot read it yet. That is very hard, but thank you. Ana, it's me, Karina. Um, so I want to ask you, number one prompt, what's a recurring thought that keeps you stuck in overthinking? Okay, please write that down. Number two, which cognitive distortion does it resemble? Number three, what might a more compassionate, grounded version of this thought sound like? Again, what might a more compassionate, grounded version of this thought sound like? Okay, please write it down. And then, what action can I take, no matter how small, to break the cycle? Again, what action can I take, no matter how small, to break the cycle? Because as we learned tonight, or wherever you are today, overthinking leads to the cycle of inaction and paralysis. To tap yourself and ask these questions, take a break, and then revisit this. Because you see, overthinking is often a sign that you are trying to stay emotionally safe in a world or a childhood that didn't give you many options. But now you have tools as an adult, you have choices, and you have community. Okay? So the next time a distorted thought comes up, remember you are allowed to pause. You are allowed to ask questions. You are allowed to choose a kinder thought. So let that be your power this week. How does that sound, everyone? Okay. So, since we are ending our live stream, I want to hear from you. What resonated with you? And make sure to like, share, and subscribe if you haven't. Okay. So, let me know what resonated with all of you before we close this live stream. I am deeply grateful for your time out of your Sunday. So, I truly appreciate you and your comments. And if you are ready for more tools to help you untangle from overthinking and reconnecting with your worth, then come join us inside our Self Worth Hub, which is a community of like minded women supporting each other with practical tools for healing, growth, and belonging. Okay, regardless of who you are, I am grateful that you are here. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments and I will leave the link to the Self Worth Hub in the description. So, unless you have any questions, I will see you next Sunday. Okay, thank you so much, everyone. And please remember your resilience. Okay, let's see. Beatrice says, I really enjoyed the question in tip 7. What feelings am I trying to avoid and how will I support myself through these feelings? Beautiful. Oh, yes, I'm glad that you found that helpful. Oh, thank you. Thank you. You're very welcome. And then it's okay to make mistakes? Aim for good enough. Absolutely. Good enough. It's beautiful, right? That's more realistic. So aim for good enough. Thank you so much for sharing, everyone. I will see you next week. Don't forget that if you are a Self Worth Hub member, track your attendance for a chance to win your monthly gift card. Sending you so much love, everyone, and take care. See you next time. Bye bye.